A rather shocking conversation, and this has to do with technology facilitated gender based violence. To give you a context, which I did share with you, was that of superstar Arya Starr, who had posted herself, and within hours, somebody took those pictures, used AI, and created explicit images and then shared them across social media platforms. That is a form of technology facilitated gender based violence. More shocking stats globally: 98% of deep fake videos are pornographic, and 99% of the target audience, or rather those targeted, are women. Now, African women are a part of the statistics. Deepfake porn production surged to about 464%. And these are numbers from 2023. To keep us abreast with what is currently happening, but also to bring some clarity to solutions, is none other than specialist investigator who deals with violent crime, economics, and cyber crimes. That is Mike Bolhuis. Mr. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to African Diaries.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mike, I gave a brief overview of what qualifies a technology facilitated GBV. However, I do understand that you have an expanded view. For he, she, they listening, what is a gender-based violence when it comes to the realms of technology?
Well, I want to start by saying what you mentioned in the beginning, and this is that especially the ladies that are listening now, if you have a reputation, try and keep it beyond reproach. Because today, if somebody takes a picture of you or have a picture of you, whether you're famous or not, or just identified and a picture was taken of you without your consent, or in a relationship or at school, wherever, that picture can be manipulated completely. The public must understand that. And if somebody then uses that picture by creating a naked body to it, or using it in a porn video, or try to extort money from you, or wherever, on whichever digital or electronic platform, if you have a good relationship with your family and friends and everybody that knows you, and that you're beyond reproach, that you're not that kind of person, that you would never do such a thing. That's the number one solution to it. Also, secondly, you must be very responsible always with digital and electronic communications. You are known by your phone. Your phone is the next DNA. It absolutely explains you. If I have your phone, I know exactly who you are, what you believe in. I have your gate motor, your remote control information, your banking details and apps. I know who you like, who you dislike. I know your political affiliations, your religious affiliations, etc., etc., etc. You are known by your phone. And if you are professional with your phone, you will be known as a professional person, and that you're careful, and that you treat your phone and people with respect and with responsibility. So in other words, when you send stuff, people will know this is you. And you are known, as I've said, by your phone, by what you present and send and are involved with. The dangers are all the platforms that are available. And the dangers is those relationships that you make with your phone. Any digital or electronic relationship that you go into, you need to fully and totally investigate. You have to do a total identification, evaluation, and risk analysis. A platform profile, cyber track and trace, forensic, whatever investigation is necessary, you need to do. You cannot today go into any relationship, just physically, emotionally, spiritually, religiously, politically, or on a platform without doing a thorough investigation. Those days are past. You can absolutely, unfortunately, trust no one. How many calls do I get of beautiful relationships that went bang or bust, and then they have photos of each other, and then the problem starts. How many sextortion cases do we have? The most cases we receive is sextortion cases. How many cases do we get where women are extremely manipulated, their phones infiltrated, and threatened, intimidated, constantly followed, tracked and traced, stalked? How many men are out there, and they are cowards, and I say it to their faces. All the men listening here, let me tell you, if you are manipulating a woman in any way, digitally or electronically, physically or emotionally, you are a coward. And if I get you, you'll be in trouble, brother, because I'll take you down physically. I have no time for any person that abuses a woman in any way at all. Children, the women, and the elderly is my soft spot. And I will definitely get extremely violent if I catch you doing that. But back to the story, it's very important that you do not at all just go into anything and involve yourself with anything. And whether you're buying or selling, or whether you're going into a relationship, or whether you're planning a holiday, or whatever you do, you have to do thorough, extensive investigations nowadays.
Mike, just to your point there, Interpol has now categorized digital sextortion as one of the dominant cyber threats across Africa. Some other staggering stat that came in is that 63,000 Instagram accounts have been taken down, and this was mid-2024 alone for sextortion-related activities in Nigeria. You know, Mike, you said something, and I hear the sentiment, but I'm just trying to practicalize it. You said that it's important for us to do a thorough investigation before stepping into a relationship, right? One can do that for business because perhaps you have facilities that would extend to such. But I'm thinking about a personal relationship. You meet somebody, you talk for 2-3 weeks, you are now talking for 6 months, you get emotionally intertwined. And I'm thinking, where do you start with this investigation? How can you tangibly begin to find out who this person is without having to ask them questions?
All right. If it's a physical relationship, my advice to all the ladies is make the person immediately understand from the beginning who you are, what you're against, but also what you are for, what you believe in. Like, for instance, sex. Tell them straight, because this is what I believe in. If you want to see what a man is really about, tell him you will only sleep with him when you're going to get married. I mean, those are the days, but those should be the days today. You need to set an exact, how shall I say, like a CV in front of the men today.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, most relationships, when it comes from a man's side, is based on quick and easy sex, and then to the other. It's unfortunately so, and I apologize for the men, the South African men, that don't set the standard and that don't set the example. I mean, I see it in so many investigations. The men just cannot look after their wives and their marriages, and it's about 90% of men that I deal with during this 40 years that has had some kind of a relationship outside of their marriage, whether it's porn sites, whether it's prostitutes, other women, etc., etc. So the first thing, ladies, you do is you set the standard. But remember what I've said earlier on, you must be beyond reproach. Try and live that lifestyle. Otherwise, you will be abused. If you don't set the standard and you're loose and you're going out and you're drinking, using drugs and lascivious, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to bring it upon yourself. And you most probably will be raped then as well, because sexual crimes follows to those women that are identified that are easy, if we can call it that. These are hard words, ladies. So what I want you to be is an extreme, strict rules and regulations and boundaries, exactly what you stand for, what you're against. And I would start with that. Once that is known to the gentleman, if he is one, he will, and you go into a relationship in time. You don't just rush into it and then you're in bed and then this, that, and the other. You have to know each other. You have to know the person, inside and out. Otherwise, it's going to come out later. You cannot rush a relationship. It's like a baby that's growing from birth to about 4, 5, or 6 years. That takes some time. And when you have that passed, then you can make informed decisions, because then you really, really know each other. Many relationships don't even discuss finances. They don't discuss family. They don't discuss any of these things that I've mentioned. They're just so taken in by how they each other look for each other, or how they look like. Or, sometimes money immediately plays a big role, and it's a catch. But if you make those decisions based on one or two things that you like of a man or a woman, it's not going to work out.
The voice of specialized investigator dealing with serious violent crimes, economic crimes, and cyber crimes. This is Mike Bollhuis joining us this evening. It is 23 after 11 p.m. Central African time to send your questions and share your thoughts and views. Find us on WhatsApp +27 634069126. For now, let's take a quick breather. Mike is still on the line with us. Mike, I want us to talk about digital literacy and how we can protect ourselves. I think we have spoken about the tangible day-to-day practices in my own world that I can do, which is be a person who is upright, a standing citizen, who, if anything were to be published about Shayla, somebody could easily say that's not Shayla and that's not what she would do. What can we do in the realms of technology in the digital world?
Well, I was explaining a physical relationship. Here we go now. When you meet somebody online, if you want to, I'm totally against it though. I don't suggest you go on any dating site. I don't suggest you open up anything that comes through your phone that you don't know what it is. I would be very careful if you're a curious person and you see something coming through, or a nice photo, or just a hi, or whatever comes through. I mean, this is where it all starts. If you're curiosity, it may strangle the cat, and that's a process. It's not an immediate death. So you should be very careful if you're involved in online communications. So I would I would shut it down completely. But if you're not going to listen to me, and you do want to try it out, you have to do the same form of investigations. You cannot get involved by sending photos and personal information. You don't know if these guys are going to come and hijack you. You don't know if the person on the other side is the real person. Identity theft is part and parcel of what my interviewer has mentioned. It's part of sextortion and deepfake and all of that. Just remember this, the person on the other side that's digitally and electronically communicating with you, it's very difficult to really identify. And there has to come a point where you have to meet that person physically, otherwise you shut it down, you block and delete. And in that time that you have communicated, you must be very, very sure that you've not sent anything that puts you in a compromising position. You won't believe what I tell you, but there are so many women that get involved because they're lonely. They've lost their husbands. And then you get sweetheart scams. The biggest one we had is 25 million rand that this woman has paid in 6 months. Can you fathom that? Can you just take that in for a moment? 25 million after her husband died, all the monies that she has received in 6 months, the woman in Cape Town. She's lost it all because she believed the person on the other side really cared for her and would look after her and would take her in nicest photos. Also a man that has lost his wife, 2 kids, extremely rich. There's a yacht, all the most beautiful photos you can think of, holiday photos, etc., etc. After our investigations, it clearly showed it was the total and absolute opposite, and it was somebody from Nigeria. So the bottom line is any communications on platforms whatsoever has to, at the stage, come to a physical meeting. And then if you still like that person and it's the real person, you follow what I've initially explained. set the standards and the rules of engagement till you completely and have total peace. And then you make informed decisions nowadays when you get into a relationship after you know each other like the palm of your hands. So advice is you must know the phone, the cell phone, your laptop, your computers, and anything you work with like the palm of your hand. You need to know the settings. You don't just, if you buy something expensive that you're going to work with, say for instance like a gym, you're going to read the booklet. Otherwise, you're never going to put it together. If you buy a phone, a smartphone, which everybody would have, then you're going to need to know it like your palm of your hand. You need to go through it, take your time, and study it carefully, that you know exactly how it works, what you can do, and what you should do, especially the privacy settings, and especially how it stores information. Today, any information sent is there, and it cannot be lost unless you clear, for instance, the cloud. Now, all of this information, and it's quite difficult to explain here in detail. I have sent a WhatsApp with 3 or 4 projects to my interviewer, which you can place on the platforms, which you can read afterwards, which you should read carefully, because this teaches you how to work with your phone if you do not by now know how to work with your phone. Your phone can make or break you. Your phone can make you make money and lose everything you've got. Your phone can make you more beautiful and more accepted and more respected, or it can totally shame you. You can lose your respect, and everybody can, as I've said, if you don't have a reputation beyond reproach, your phone can put you in a position where you are seen as a suspect, as a criminal. Your phone can can identify you, how much you have, your worth, your value financially. And your phone can assist you to be a good business person, a businesswoman. We're speaking specifically to ladies today. Your phone is so important. And yes, you may use your phone, but you should not get addicted to it and get involved with nonsense and stupid communications and what we call Skinner and Cockpraat, which is South Africa's #1 sport. It's just constantly sending anything and everything without even really realizing it, whether it's fake or truthful, and so forth. The golden rule is you must use your phone professionally and responsibly.
Mike, I want to talk about policy framework in South Africa. Do we have enough policy framework that can protect people from these kinds of crimes?
Mm-hmm. No, we don't. And remember, most ladies and children and women, even elderly women, won't go to an authority. They're too ashamed and they're too scared, and they do not trust the authorities. We know all what's going on presently in our country. We see the total neglect of the president, and most probably of his involvement and his knowledge of what's been going on in the organized crime, as well as racketeering on the highest level in government and the top authorities in the police, as well as extreme businessmen and even mid-level policemen and the man on the street. The corruption form and narrative nowadays, which we are directly investigating for years and have been trying to warn the public, the government and the authorities, has come to that now when General Mkhwanazi stood up. And we are now clearly seeing that the authorities cannot protect and serve. And that includes our vulnerable people, our children, our women, and our elderly. They are most probably the most neglected. There's no proper cybercrime units, if any, and there's no real go-to guys. We are go-to guys. If a woman calls me and says her husband is treating her wrong, we act immediately. We sort it there and then. 99% without even making or involving police. However, let's say there's about 20% of the police that can really do the job. Those are the ones we work with. So if there's extreme cases, we do pull them in. But I must tell you, we've been doing this for 40 years, and in the last years, we've been mostly 95% doing the work and dealing with the crimes in South Africa by ourselves, and then just if necessary, involve the police. And it does not mean that all of the police is corrupt. As I've said, there might be 20% that can really do the work, but there might be another percentage that's not corrupt, but they cannot do the work because they're in a job that they don't understand and they don't know how to do it. Unfortunately, if you hire a painter and somebody sends you a diesel mechanic, then the job's not going to get done. And that's what has been happening in our government and in our authorities for years. You have people there that are painters that should be diesel mechanics. They cannot do the job. They cannot protect and serve. So the women, children, and the elderly are left behind. So there's private institutions. There are many that really go out of their way to help the elderly, the women, and the children. But it really doesn't make a difference. But the number one problem is people coming forward. Women that are raped, 1 out of 100 might come forward. You know, we do the most horrific rape cases. And amongst the poorest of the poor, this might shock people now, rapes has become the accepted norm. You know, ladies telling me that in the rural areas, when they're raped, they just stand up, shake the dust off and go on because they don't know where to report it and how. They've become used to it. They just might give in. That is so shocking. And we've been seeing this and dealing with this for years. And I don't know, I tell you how bad rape in our country is. It is horrific. Child molestation, all forms of serious violence and intimidation and control of women. It is horrific. And it's amongst all our people in South Africa, black and white, and everybody that, the rich and poor, it is there. It is an unfortunate situation that the human race has become evil today and lawless. And they can commit these crimes because they can get away with it.
The voice there of Mike Ballhays, a specialized investigator dealing with serious violent crime, economic crimes and cyber crimes. Mike, will park it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been a very fruitful conversation because we have walked out wiser. Again, thank you for your time.